you're very, you're certain that you would never let teammates fight each other. And with this weekend with Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns fighting, I thought about, let's break this down, because I've had situations in my career where teammates were going to fight, and right away I was like, no, this ain't happening.
Each one of these fights, these teammates end up not being teammates anymore.
Yeah.
And now Usman is not a teammate anymore.
Yeah.
So now Henry's got to step aside and he's not going to coach. But at the end of the day, the fact that one is still part of the team and the other isn't, now we've created this dynamic where, the coaching staff and the teammate environment that got Usman to where he is, now he's going to have to go and try to recreate that.
Yeah.
Literally, I think that Usman's fine.
Yeah.
But that whole dynamic of teammates fighting teammates, if you're fighting each other, you're not teammates. And what I said is that if you're fighting your teammate as a coach, you don't have a team, you have a business arrangement.
Yeah. I'm here with Kirian Fitzgibbons, and when I first started the Building Hurting Bombs podcast, it was all about getting intelligent minds, and to me, coaches have the most intelligent minds in the sport. They're the ones relaying the information to the fighter. They're the ones that I kind of want to get into the subtleties of coaching, technique, nutrition, and Kirian Fitzgibbons is one of the first person I thought about in this, because one, he's so knowledgeable. He has some of the best fighters in North America. He's a UFC coach, Glory coach, Bellator coach. And what is more impressive is he creates a coaching seminar, which I've been a part of a couple years now. And I'm representing the shirt as well from CSA Gym. So boom, because I always see you rocking my Bazooka shirt, so I need to share the love.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's my intro, and I really value your knowledge, Kirian. I value your position in the sport, and that you're very well-spoken and educated. So I think you're a perfect guest here on this podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I look forward to having you back down. Without question, give some love back.
Yeah.
One of the most popular guest coaches we have ever had.
Like to hear that.
I think most of it is your stunningly amazing good looks.
Ooh, yeah.
But because I have a lot of women here.
That's it.
But your coaching style, how you transfer knowledge, your delivery, the systematic approach. People get it.
Yep.
And I of all the coaches, you and Damian Trainer, I get the most requests for return. Please have them back. Please have them back. So thank you for the times that you've come and you've shared your knowledge.
Yeah. And you might not even know, but when you introduced me at the coaches clinic, you said something that really stuck to me. You said, you were a fantastic fighter. I loved watching you fight, but you said, I'm actually more excited to see you develop as a coach, to see some of the fighters that you develop. And that actually stuck with me. So thank you. And it means a lot to me to see me in that role, to now kind of see what you're doing, the way you're influencing other coaches in North America. And I'm happy to be a part of it, man. And so it means a lot that you thought about me in that way.
Oh, 100%. There are lots of great fighters that simply never understand how to transfer knowledge to other people. Fighting can be a very selfish sport, right? At times it has to be. You have to be focused on yourself.
Yep.
People who can do that at the highest level, unfortunately, aren't always well suited to share knowledge with other people. Or the general masses, right? So, being able to be such a high-level fighter, but then have the ability to be a high-level coach is rare, right? You've got, just because you can fight doesn't mean you can coach. Just because you can coach doesn't mean you can fight. But at the end of the day, to have somebody who can do both at such a high level is really rare, and is a tremendous asset to anybody that you can work with. So if somebody's in your area and they're not working with you, they're foolish.
Yeah,
100%.
stupid. Yeah, say it as it is.
Absolutely.
They're stupid. Absolutely stupid. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but
yeah, you can say it. Yeah.
Let's just put it out there,
And I think the other side of the business that you do really well, and you can be a great coach, you can be a great athlete, but running a gym is about a business and being an entrepreneur. And as soon as I walked into your gym, I was like, wow, this is what I want. You have a full, CrossFit gym at the back of your gym. You have different areas set up for jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, bags. There's a system. Everything is well organized. And you can tell that as soon as you walk in. And as soon as I came back, I was like, okay, some of the ideas starting to click. And the way you run your gym is just impeccable. It's perfect, to be honest with you.
No, thank you. I think that, especially before COVID, we were doing things really, really well. COVID, of course, has been a challenge for all gym owners, no matter where you are. But I'm very happy with the system that we use. And for me, part of the reason that I feel we've been as successful as we have been as a gym, over the last 11 years, and had success, in Muay Thai or kickboxing or MMA at a very high level, is because of structure, is because of curriculum, is because of, our focus and emphasis on drilling over just hard sparring and all of that. So I do believe that, the systematic approach that we have has contributed to our overall success, and that overall success, within the fighting community certainly assists that membership community for the gym. But the challenge is creating a dynamic where your gym is kind of an ecosphere, right? Where everything is kind of symbiotic. One thing feeds the other. The members feed the fighters feed the members. If you create a fight gym, it can become very fight centric, and people don't feel welcome, and everybody's intimidated, and they're not part of this clique. And you have to kind of make your money off of fighting, because you're never going to generate enough revenue off of memberships. And then other gyms that don't really have fighters, the fighters are never going to feel comfortable kind of being in that community because they don't have training partners. So the fact that I can run a 630 Muay Thai class, and in that 630 Muay Thai class I can have Muay Thai world champions, MMA champions, and stay-at-home dads and soccer moms all side by side in the same class doing the same curriculum, because there's universal truths in combat. If you do something well, it doesn't matter what your level is, you're going to get benefit from it. I think is part of the real key to our success is that we've created a system that is palatable for anyone, no matter what your level. And then that can help create community by everybody training together. And then that community can sell tickets to events. And then the more tickets you sell to events, the better your relationship with promoters, the more opportunities you get, etc. So it's just kind of this self-feeding eco structure that, whether by design or by accident or dumb luck on my part, has worked really well for us.
Yeah, I think what you said the best there is creating that community. And like I said, when I walked into your gym, or when I follow your whole team on social media, and your team posts about the gym, there you get them very active. You teach them how to use social media properly. And I mean, which is unique, because a lot of coaches, because we had this little conversation before, and then like a lot of times fighters, they have they want their pay is valuable to them, so they don't want to pay a percentage of pay. And you're unique in the way that you don't take any money from your fighters, but they coach for you, they teach classes for you, they post about you. And at the big end of the day, I think that's almost the way to go these days, because these fighters aren't making enough money to make it worth it. So the bigger value as a fighter is pay the respect to the coach through helping create that community, be part of the community, and I think you guys do that really, really well.
Yeah, I think, when you look at social media, like right now, the predominant, TikTok is certainly, popular at the moment. Twitter, has obviously with the election and everything else, it's in the public consciousness. But between, everybody knows right now, Instagram is king when it comes to social media, because it's a mix of, verbology and imagery, right? So, when you talk about a social media following, you talk about gyms, we have, I think, maybe the third largest social media profile in all of the global MMA gyms. And I, unlike American Top Team, who has more followers than us, or, Jackson Wink, who has more followers than us, I don't have a current UFC champion promoting my gym. I don't have, the same star power building my social media. As you said, it's more so, other than maybe one or two people, it's my social media building the
Yep.
fighter,
Yep.
and then the fighter feeds the social media back. And I think that, the reason that we've become as popular on social media as we have is just because it's kind of day in the life stuff, things that I run all the social media, right? All, if you're sending a message to CSA Gym on any form of social media, I'm the guy that's responding. I'm the guy that's posting. I don't have a team of people. I just see shit that I like every day. I film it and then I post it, whether it's, me flirting with my wife or, busting Gaston's balls or showing a drill
Nadia
or
ripping the pads
or Nadia ripping the pads, or Jesse, doing some stunt for Monster, or whatever it is. I just post it organically. And I think that that's worked really well for us as well. Because we've always had a talented group of people, and in all gyms, you have generations of, kind of fighters. My first generation were all amateurs, and we kind of built them up from scratch. And then that brought the Miriams and the Kevins, and then we had these high-profile fighters, and then that kind of helped build the Gastons, and and then you have the Eddies and the Diegos and the Kais and the Zoilas, and then all these other people start to come. And then it's just this ebb and flow of the more things change, the more they stay the same. The system is the system is the system. We've built really good relationships with the guys at Team Alpha Male, and I'm working really closely with those guys. And
Feely, I've seen you work with Feely a lot lately.
I love Feely. Feely, Munoz, Emmett, Benito, Hector, run down the list. I've worked with Cody before, great kid. And it's one of those things where, now we've built a relationship with El Nino, and I've got Gil Melendez coming in and coaching, and I'm working with, his team. And so, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And the system really is kind of the driving factor behind everything that we do. But social media has been a huge part of our brand.
Big time.
And I will say that COVID has kind of made it a little difficult to post, because I'm not running the same kind of classes or the same amount of classes. So I'm not particularly happy with what we're dealing with, but nobody is. But we're making the best of it, I'm sure, as you are. Running a gym isn't easy, especially when it's illegal.
Yeah, when I'm not allowed anyone in the gym, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Who knew that fitness would become illegal?
Yeah, seriously. Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough, man. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I do believe that our structure has contributed to our success. And as you said, running a gym is not easy. But one of the other things that I think maybe helps us kind of stand apart from other gyms and why we've had so much success is I don't believe that I'm the world's greatest Muay Thai coach, right? There are, thousands of Thais that have been teaching Muay Thai much longer than I have. But the truth of the matter is this, is that in North America, well, most of the Thais come to North America to train. One, there aren't that many.
Yeah.
Two, do they really care if it's not the stadiums anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's be honest. If it's not a stadium, it's not really Muay Thai. So you don't get the same kind of passion from a Thai coach here in the States or in North America, really. I mean, there have been a handful. I think Jongsanon, without question, is one of the forefathers and one of the few guys that actually was willing to share. Saxon.
Koban, maybe in New York,
Koban,
maybe.
Suchart.
Canada,
but I mean, that's a handful of guys, and there are a few others, but who, from Thailand is really coaching high level striking in North America right now on a high level.
And their ability to coach too, right? I mean,
right.
Can you coach an English speaking fighter? It's different.
Yeah. And someone that isn't going to take brutality, the same way that someone in Thailand will. So, at the end of the day, I think that the difference for me and why we've been able to, you won't find another gym in North America with WBC world titles, WMC world titles. I've got the King's Cup sitting over there on my shelf. You're not going to find that in North America. Is that because I'm the greatest, Muay Thai coach of all time? No, it's not. It's because I was smart enough to know that half of this is what you know, and the other half is who you know.
Yeah.
So it's the relationships that I've built with, find another Muay Thai coach that knows who to call in the WBC to sanction a WBC fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Name another Muay Thai coach who knows who to call in the WMC, right? Because you're not going to get a hold of Stephen Fox, and Stephen isn't going to be the guy to call. Who do you call when you need to sanction a fight with the WMC, right? Who do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of those things where it's beyond just your coaching acumen. It's the ability to understand that as a coach, we have to create opportunity. We have to create opportunities for success. And if we sit back and just take what people are going to give us, it's never going to work. So, my biggest issue that I get a lot of pushback, and I get a lot of people that, you brag about your fighters, you of course I do. Who else is going to do that, right? I'm not bragging about myself. It's not about my achievement, it's about their achievement. And the more I can push them out there, into the public consciousness, whether it be through social media or through fight opportunities, the more success they're going to have. Because otherwise, I'm going to be like most Muay Thai coaches sitting in my gym being upset that I don't have anything, or I don't have any fighters, or I don't have any opportunities, or I'm not getting the big fights, or, you have to hustle.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And I feel that that's helped contribute to my mix. I've busted my balls. I've hustled. I won't take no for an answer. If I set a goal, I'm going to accomplish it. And, I'm willing to spend the money that it takes to get something done for my fight team. And most coaches are not even thinking that far ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
You got that whole package, right? You need to be that psychologist. You need to be that get your fighters in the right mindset, to planning, to training. So I think the coaching aspect is basically a smaller aspect of it than most people think.
Yeah, absolutely, right. It's one of those things where, but it is they're all kind of codependent on each other. But again, a good portion of my fighters have come to me they're coming to me off of losses. They're coming to me off of when I run down the list. When I met Miriam, she hadn't fought in years. When I Kevin moved to California, he had lost a few fights in a row, and we kind of went to a rebuilding process. And he had never won world titles before that, and he ended up winning 2 after that. One in kickboxing and one at the highest level of kickboxing, at the highest level of Muay Thai. Eddie had lost, and Stephanie had a losing record, and run down the list, and Jesse Jess had lost multiple fights in a row, and Amber, and I could run down this list of people who we've worked with, and I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to take very talented people and help them find a new lease on fighting, and help them find their confidence, or help them find the best training partners. And everybody's different, right? But there's nobody that's ever come to CSA that hasn't turned their career around. So I'm very proud of that fact. But again, it's just that constant challenge of does this fighter need a push? Does this fighter need to be babied? Does this fighter need support? Does this fighter need tough love? And being able to figure out what that is with people, I think has been a skill that I've developed through the years, and has led to some success.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, because you have that full holistic approach, like you're getting fighters. I know Jesse Jess had knee injury, so you're able to not only take her through that recovery, strengthening, rehab, putting her back into the weight room, slowly developing her back on the pads. So I think that as a whole makes a good coach. I mean, yes, we talked about the Muay Thai being one part of it, but you just helped someone rehab from an injury. So you're a physiotherapist. You had to get her back and monitor her, make sure she's not pushing herself, pulling her back, not getting her going too far ahead, but at the same time pushing her. So, I mean, you had such a big aspect. And I think that's where kind of I looked at kind of things. It's like, yes, to be a better kickboxer, a Muay Thai fighter, MMA fighter, you got to do well in the weight room. To do well in the weight room means you have to understand both worlds. You got to program one side, not do one. So it's that balance, the holistic approach, the nutrition side of things. And that, to me, makes the good coach, rather than just, you can teach the punch and the kick.
Yeah. Anybody, a lot of people like pad holding, right? My style of pad holding. I'm not like a cardio bunny. Anybody can do that. You want 10 kicks right, 10 kicks left,
Yeah.
and skip knees and all this. You can do that with your teammate. You don't need me for that. There's a lot of actual coaching that I'm doing, and there's a lot of stopping and going, and and until we get to a point where we find the rhythm, and that's kind of the same with classes and everything else is just identifying kind of where the deficiencies are and then coming up with a plan. And that's the thing, right? Is if you can get buy-in with a program,
Unknown caller.
you're going to have success, right? And it doesn't even and I don't remember who said it, but even the worst program can create a champion if people believe in it enough.
Absolutely. It's that
Right?
belief in it, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. So you get a group of people come together with a common belief, and if they truly believe in it, even
It'll
if it's subpar programming,
Mhm.
you're going to win.
Yep.
So if you can offer quality programming and get enough people to believe in it, you're going to create a culture of winning. And we've had that for many, many years. And like I said, the names change, the faces change.
Yeah.
People come, people go, people retire, people, we've been doing this long enough now at CSA, 11 years, that, we've seen a couple of generations of fighters come and go. But at the end of the day, the system is the system, and it's going to continue to put out champions. I'm very comfortable with that because it's proven.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things I've seen with your social media, and this is kind of what gave me the idea this week to talk to you, which I like about it, is that you have this, I don't know, no bullshit is what it is. You don't, you say things how it is. You say it to the fighters. You tell the world. If you don't, you say it as it is. And I think that's where I respect a lot. And I think the community respects you a lot for literally saying things how they are. Whether people want to like it or not, you're going to say it.
And again, in today's world, I do monitor myself. I mean, because you do, well, you have a cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
And we're so divided, and we're
almost scared to say things.
I think honestly, it's social media has been a tremendous tool and a tremendous boon to society. But in reality, it's also been one of the worst things that can happen because, it's created this dividing effect of tribalism where everybody can have an opinion no matter how offshoot, and enough people can come together and make it a movement. Whereas before, you would have to kind of post up, posters in college and get a group meeting going together in a basement somewhere to talk about your love of, Nazism or whatever, and now it's just so easy to communicate across a global scale, that there are certainly benefits to it, but there are negatives. So ideas, can be, just career killers. At the end of the day, you say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and all of a sudden the public decides that you're canceled. So, I don't get involved I try not to be political. I try not, religion, sex, sexual orientation, politics. I try not to push those hot button issues because you can't really win. But common sense, calling a spade, basic reality and truth, no matter what side of the coin you're on. I think if you're honest about it, you could be respected for your opinion. So, I will absolutely give my opinion if I think something is just way out of whack. I get blowback for it, but, I'm also cautious not to really get involved in things like, is there any, do I need to debate pronouns? At the end of the day, he, she, they, them. Do I really need to get into that? That's not if whatever you feel about that, that's cool. That doesn't really impact the day-to-day of combat sports or my fighters' lives or my members' lives. So I don't get involved in those kind of things. So I kind of avoid those pitfalls that
you have
a lot of maybe fighters or coaches kind of fall into because they've got problems with homosexuality, or they've got problems with Democrats, or they've got problems with Republicans, or they support or don't support. All lives matter, Black lives matter. So at the end of the day, it's a very slippery slope when you decide to fall into kind of those socioeconomic, political ideology type things. I'm comfortable in saying Trump's an idiot, you know. But I'm also, and again, I'm a registered Republican. I'm also comfortable in saying, you know, that I didn't vote for Joe Biden either. So it's one of those things where, for me, you know, centralism is probably the key to solve most problems, right? Because we're all so extreme. If we can kind of meet in the middle, I think we can find a happy medium, you know. But yeah, man, if you ask a question, I'm going to give you an answer. Maybe people won't like how I answer it, and I'm certainly more than happy to give my opinion on fight-related things, you know, or just general life-related things that I know aren't gonna, you know, end up having the, you know, NAACP knocking at my door to shut me down, you know.
Yeah. So the one that I read was your very, you know, you're certain that you would never let teammates fight each other. And with this weekend with Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns fighting, I thought about, let's break this down, because I've had situations in my career where teammates were going to fight, and right away I was like, no, this ain't happening. I mean, I don't agree with it. I don't think it should happen. The mentality that you have to put yourself in to be a fighter, sometimes you got to get into some dark mindsets. I mean, it is what it is. I fought more than just win or lose. I had to create some sort of hatred a little bit, some frustration. I don't want to hate someone. Even my opponent, like before the fight, even shaking their hands, having a few words, I've created a positive relationship with that person. And now I don't want it to affect me wanting to hurt them, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to put them to sleep. I'm trying to split them open. I want to hurt them, and I don't want to hurt friends. So just my mindset alone, I would have a hard time. But as a coach, I don't think I would ever allow it at my gym, to be honest.
No, and you know, like I said, I got a little blowback for that. It's like, you know, you know, you're pointing this out about, you know, Gilbert and Usman, and you know, the post itself, it was posted 5 years ago, right? And my response was just, look at the date. You know, there was, you know, Stafford MMA wasn't even in existence. You know, Henry Hoof was, you know, it was all, there were the Black Zillions at the time. I mean, they weren't in my consciousness at all. Through the years, in the last 11 years, there have been a handful of teammates, and invariably the proof that it doesn't work is that each one of these fights, these teammates end up not being teammates anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you've got Rashad and you've got John, and, you know, they're both at Jackson Wink. And at the end of the day, John wants to fight Rashad, and then Rashad, you know, which coach is this? And you're allowing the people's feelings get hurt. It hurts the team dynamic. And then one moves on. They're not teammates anymore. And now Usman is not a teammate anymore. So now Henry's got to step aside, and he's not going to coach. But at the end of the day, the fact that one is still part of the team and the other isn't, now we've created this dynamic where, you know, the coaching staff and the teammate environment that got Usman to where he is, now he's going to have to go and try to recreate that, you know. And he's working with Trevor Whitman, who's one of my absolute favorite coaches in the world.
Knowledgeable,
you know,
is crazy.
Oh, amazing. And such a great dude. So literally, I think that Usman's fine. But that whole dynamic of teammates fighting teammates, if you're fighting each other, you're not teammates. And what I said is that if you're fighting your teammate as a coach, you don't have a team, you have a business arrangement. And that's just the truth. And that wasn't a knock on Henry, or it wasn't a knock on Greg Jackson or Mike Winklejohn at the time, or anybody else that I've ever reposted that about when, you know, teammates were talking about fighting teammates. It's just a culture. You don't fight your teammates. And I'll tell you this, 11 years I've been part of, you know, Cesar Gracie's, you know, Gracie Fighter, El Nino, Nick and Nate's gym, Dave Terrell's gym, run down the list. 11 years. I've never fought somebody, not even within my gym, I've never fought somebody from within that training
basically community
paradigm. 11 years. I had Miriam Nakamoto, Alexis Davis, and Sarah D'Elio all fighting at 135 pounds in Invicta at the same time. Never fought each other, right? I've got a bunch of girls at 115 in the UFC right now. Not going to fight each other. And if they want to fight each other, they're not going to be part of my gym. Not one of them, right? Not, oh, well, one's going to. No, you're both out. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, because it's not good for the team dynamic. And the reality is this, right? Is that if somebody is the champion, you've got another person coming up, right? Take the DC Kane approach, right? Right? Okay, I'm going to move a weight class. I'm going to wait my fucking turn because champions are not forever, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? Usman, Gilbert, this and that. I'm not a fan of teammates fighting teammates because it's just not a team. It's just not, and that's okay, right? If you talk about Jackson Wink, they're a great gym. They're a fantastic gym. But it's very mercenary, right? At times, right? It's like, I'm coming in, I'm coming out, I'm here for the camp, I'm not here for the camp. Like, I don't do dorms. If you want to be at CSA, you got to move to Northern California. It's expensive as fuck. You got to find a place to live. You got to find a job. You got to do whatever.
Be part of the community.
I'm not putting you up. I'm not making it easy on you, and I'm responsible for your housing and this and that. But at the end of the day, for me, no, it's never going to happen. And it's not going to be like, and I'll tell you, in 11 years, I've never cornered against a fighter that I've ever cornered. I've never coached against somebody who I've worked with, ever. And that's just my rule. It'll never happen.
Like, I mean, the devil's advocate would be, this is a UFC title, the money, the future, the sport, 100%.
100%. I get it. I get the dynamic, but that doesn't change how it's going to impact my team. And at least one of those people is going to leave.
Yeah.
You're not salvaging it. And anytime you look at it, run down the list of times that it's happened, it creates an incredibly divisive thing, almost nuclear. Jackson Wink, after the John Jones Rashad thing, there was so much fallout and side choosing, and they had to rebuild.
Same thing with didn't Donald Cerrone have to leave, and that created problems as well? Because I think Cerrone was fighting from someone there. Then they decided to coach the other guy over Cerrone, and he felt like they disrespected.
The whole thing with Mike Perry and this and that, and it's one of those things where. For me, and again, you brought it up, it's UFC, it's big money. I'm not driven by money.
Yeah.
Right. I've already negated that. I'm not getting a percentage of either of your purses, am I? I don't take money from professional fighters. Yeah. So I don't care how big a financial opportunity it is for you or for me, because I'm not taking a percentage of it. Right. If teammates want to fight teammates, they're no longer part of my gym.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. There's no choosing sides. I'm not going to pick a side. Yeah. I'm not just going to step back, right, and then have one on one side of the gym and one on the other side of the gym, or this one's coming in
at different times.
Yeah. Man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Yeah. I'm not interested in it. Right? And again, I'm not judging Henry. God bless him, right? I love Henry. I think he's great. Same thing with Greg and Mike, and it's just, for me, mentally, I can't work that way.
Yeah,
a team is a team. A team is a family.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pick my children over one child or another. It's just not going to happen, right? So if you want to be part of this team, just know that if I ever get a UFC champion in your weight class, you're waiting until they're not champion to fight for the belt.
Yeah.
It's just that simple, right? And if that doesn't work for you, trust me, there are other gyms that certainly seem okay with it. It's just not me.
Yeah, one of the big examples now I've been seeing, it's the Rico Verhoeven, Benjamin Adekboy. Those guys have been now training together for so many years. And Dennis Crowell, the coach of both of them, is very vocal. He's like, stop asking me that question. But we're kind of like, well, he's the number one contender for a long time now. Rico's the champion. Doesn't Benjamin Adekboy eventually want to fight Rico? Like, those are the questions. But like, Dennis is like, stop asking it. You're creating too much tension. When the time is right, okay, the time is right. We'll decide then. But he's been for years really against that type of question, because I'm sure he hates the idea of the teammates fighting, but he realized that Benjamin Adekboy, Rico are so much better having them together that it's the risk, is worth it.
Listen, Rico is Rico until Rico isn't Rico.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality, man. I mean, McGregor is McGregor until McGregor isn't McGregor, right? I mean, the life cycle of a fighter is such that, you are going to be at your best, and then the slope it doesn't have an end, right? I mean, and it has nothing to do with age. It's really just about time and space, and you're going to hit a wall eventually as a fighter, and it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how many times you change camps.
Yep.
Again, you look at Arlovsky, right? Somebody who's been in the game forever. Arlovsky's never going to be UFC champion. You look at Alistair Overeem. He's been in the game forever, right? Alistair Overeem at one time, right, absolutely should have been UFC champion. He missed his window.
Yep.
He missed his window. And it's one of those things where it doesn't mean they can't be competitive. It doesn't mean they can't still win fights. But at the end of the day, there's going to come a time when Rico shouldn't be Glory champion. Right now, Rico should be Glory champion. I mean, who makes their champion fight in a tournament, right?
Yeah,
Glory and Bellator, right? But at the end of the day, he wins the tournament.
Does it?
Of course he does.
With ease too.
It's so when he hits his wall, that's when his teammate should step up and take his reign.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'll tell you right now, if I was in that position and the number 2 decided that he was going to leave, right, then I wouldn't corner against the number 2, and I wouldn't let my fighter fight the number 2, and I would tell Glory, listen, guys, this isn't going to happen. I'm not fighting my former teammate. And what's Glory going to do to Rico? They're not going to do shit to Rico.
Exactly.
Right? They're not going to tell him, okay, there's lots of other people for him to fight.
Yeah.
So just by leaving, because you're in that position of control, leaving isn't going to help you either, because you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, again, the UFC is a total different
machine
animal. Totally understand, totally get it. There's only so much that you're going to be able to do with Mick and with Sean. And they're not going out of their way to make people's lives difficult, but if they want to fight, they're going to get their fight. Right. But the beautiful thing with the UFC is that, is you're not champion long most of the time.
It's true.
MMA,
it's very true.
There's so many ways to win and lose that, Usman's going to lose eventually, whether it's to Gilbert Burns or to somebody else, right? Yeah. For me, the culture and the family relationship at the gym is far more important than, people winning, this belt or that belt. There's always going to be belts. There's always going to be, and again, that's going to turn certain people off to my gym, and I'm not going to work with those people. Yeah. And I get that, right? If you're not looking for a familial type team, this isn't the place for you.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for more of that business relationship, just a lot of talented people on the mat doing their own thing for their own goal, there are lots of gyms out there that provide that, right? And you're gonna clearly do well in that environment. I'm just not interested in creating that type of environment. That's not me. That's not the, I didn't have a dad growing up. Clearly I have the need to create familiar bonds with people or whatever. The psychology behind why I do what I do. I didn't have a father. I was raised by my mother. Probably why I have so many female fighters. I could sit down and psychoanalyze myself, but one thing I know is I don't want a team environment that's mercenary and cutthroat.
Yeah. I mean, you got to create that atmosphere, and I think as soon as you walk into your gym or my gym, you feel that friendliness. You get. I know prior. I know he was close to both of us, but I had Derek at the front. So just having Derek at the front was enough for everyone to realize that, hey, this gym is about friends and family and community 100%. And love. And that's what I want. I want an 80-year-old to come in just as I want a UFC fighter to come in, and I want both to get along, like you said, in the same classes and the learning. And I think that's where the fun of a martial arts gym. 15 years ago, when I started, I'm only 35 years old, but when I started,
fuck you.
my training partners were criminals. My training partners were bad people. I wasn't training with university students. I wasn't training, if you fought and you trained, you were most likely doing it for gangs or other inappropriate things. So the community and the shift of martial arts has definitely changed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you said, Derek's a perfect example. He's the perfect person to have at the front. Hey, to Derek. You know, what an amazing human being, and you know, I miss that guy. And you know, as always, you know, we spoke, but you know, my thoughts and prayers to you and the team there. But yeah, he's somebody that you need when you want to create an environment like that. And you know, I don't have Derek, I have MJ. You know, which is a sorry comparison to Derek. No, I'm just kidding. You know, but it's the same thing. My partner MJ, he you know, he makes everybody feel welcome. You know, he approaches everybody. You know, he's such a great dude. You know, when you have that, you know, that type of person that, you know, can be the greeting factor in the gym and can make people comfortable, like a Derek or an MJ. You know, you're going to create a family environment. You just can't help it. You know, people can't help but love those guys.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Those are the ones you need.
Yeah, exactly. You know, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's one last question I'm going to leave you. I'm sure we'll rant on it a little bit, but I agreed with you when it came to teammates not fighting each other. But there's one other thing, and I think it's funny because we're opposites on it.
Oh, this motherfucker!
I'm doing it.
Don't come at me with road work.
Hey,
don't even do it.
You came at me on that post about a year ago, I think. You came at me, and you said everyone who doesn't run is basically blah, 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 except me. So you kind of, it was like a jab, but like a nice jab to me.
Hey, listen, I gave you love, and
you did.
I offered that you may be the sole abnormality in the fight world. So listen, here's my thought.
Right.
My thought is this, right? Is that physiologically, right?
Okay.
The run represents the gold standard of the aerobic capacity building in the fight world.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
So if we can agree that physiologically, now I mean, please keep your shirt on.
Okay.
But if you took your shirt off right now, not fighting, you would still be a freak.
Yes, I would say.
Shut up. Right?
Compared to your average person, yes, I have high standards.
Oh, see, you just took a shot at me compared to me.
But you're not an average person. Come on.
Right? Yeah, well, I know. I'm a fat coach. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that I'm going to give you that maybe you're the exception to the rule, but most human beings, right? You have to stimulate aerobic capacity to be successful in fighting, right? The ability to recover. Is ruled by your aerobic capacity.
Yeah, you get more mitochondria, helps flush the
Yeah,
lung.
when you're running a 100-yard, 100-meter dash, 80% of the work's being done by your aerobic center, right? Because you're constantly having to refill from ATP and lactic and anaerobic and all. So the aerobic rules everything. So to stimulate the aerobic capacity generally has been done successfully through road work. Now, here's what I offer is I get people all the time. Well, can I swim? No, motherfucker, you can't swim. And let me tell you why. Because you can't swim. Right? So who swims well enough to be able to get their heart rate to 130 to 140 beats per minute for 30 to 45 minutes without drowning? You don't when you swim. Most people without a swimming background, swim for a little bit, stop, swim for a little bit, stop. They never stimulate their aerobic capacity the way that a 3 to 5 mile run will, right? The 3 to 5 mile run is going to put you at that conversational pace
what you need
for the time domain necessary to stimulate aerobic capacity. Now, if someone is disciplined enough for 30 to 45 minutes of bag work, bike work, rower work, swimming work, VersaClimber work, pick your jump rope, whatever, then do I believe that running is superior to that? Other than the mental toughness that running usually requires for most people, from a physiological standpoint, heart rate in this window for this length equals stimulation of aerobic capacity.
That's right.
So for me, I offer all the time. If I say, oh, I'm going to go swim. Who taught you how to swim, motherfucker? Stop saying you're going to go swim. Go run, right? Oh, I'm going to hit the bag. You and I both know you're going to hit the bag for a few minutes, and then you're going to get on your phone, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do that. So at the end of the day, yes, in my world, running is king because it is the easiest thing that I can force someone to do. Go run 3 to 5 miles, right?
Yeah.
And come back this many times a week, and I know that they're stimulating their aerobic capacity, right? Now, you have said that you do that through other means.
Yeah.
Clearly, as glory champion, you're disciplined enough to do what's necessary through other work capacity elements to stimulate aerobic capacity. So we might disagree in the how, but
the training of the system is the same.
We don't disagree in the why.
Yeah.
So tell me how you, throughout your career, stimulated your aerobic capacity. What was your exercise of choice?
Well, the thing is with me, it's like when I'm training, our classes were an hour to an hour and a half long, which is you don't basically stop through an hour and a half class. We're constantly going. We're constantly moving from skipping to warm up, say, for example, to dumbbell shadow boxing, into sparring, into drills, into pad work at the end. I mean, at that point, your aerobic system is working for that whole hour and a half. It's being worked the entire time. So to have to work it again, in my philosophy is if I just worked for an hour and a half of those different drills doing what I'm doing in my sport, I'd rather work that 10 minutes at the end in my anaerobic to make sure I can handle the lactic acid, the high up spikes, the removal of the lactic acid. So for me, if I have that little bit of time, I'd rather work on my anaerobic system because I have been working that aerobic system the entire time. Every day, basically, I'm training the aerobic systems being worked. So I'd rather spend the time on the anaerobic system. And the other part for me was running. I find the wear and tear on the repetition of the groundwork. I mean, could be running form and stuff like that, but I just don't think the knee pounding on the pavement is a good idea. And again, I worked full time while I was fighting to spend that other hour, running. Maybe just for me an hour anyways, a 5K. I'm not a greatest runner. So to me, it was just, I'd rather maximize that hour and a half I was there rather than having to add that extra time. It may diminish my body and then take away from that hour and a half training that I want to maximize. So similar. Yeah, it's the why. I mean, I get it. I get why it works. And I tell people, I think running works because, one, if you believe it works like we talked about, it's going to work. If you go to running, you're like, man, this is going to help my gas tank, it's going to help your gas tank. Or if you're running and you're like, man, I just have too many thoughts in my mind, I need to go in there, I need to clear my mind, I need to go for a run, or I need to lose weight or cut weight, I prefer a bike because it's easier on the body and the joints. But yeah, I just think your aerobic system is being worked every time you train. So to have to spend all that time, the focus, the energy on that when, you only have one session a day. So I would rather do the sport,
So listen, I understand that, and I respect that, but what I will respectfully offer is this, is if just training the sport was enough for most people, why do people gas?
Yeah. Well, I would rather spend that 30, 45 minute of a run. I prefer you spend it on improving your strength in the gym. And then we'll work on your anaerobic and aerobic capacity based on pad work, based on our sparring, those things. So I'm going to work that type of high pace in the ring, but I'd rather, hey, instead of running every day, let's do a little bit of strengthening. Let's do a little bit of rehab in the gym. Let's get your squat, your hip power up. Let's strengthen those glutes,
I agree with all that. But you're still going to run.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, I see the value in it. I just think
what I'm
it's
saying
funny.
is, no, listen, I get it, but I'm also going to offer that most people doing what you do are maybe not going to get the same physiological return on investment that you specifically did. Because at the end of the day, there is something about you physically, metabolically, that adapted well to that style.
Yeah.
There are many people that replicate that and train for 2-3 hours a day and still gas, right? because they go too hard, or or they're not going hard enough, or so it's one of those things where I absolutely, much like you understand what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
From a statistical analysis of hundreds of fighters through the years, right? I have found more success in actually forcing them to focus on aerobic capacity. Yeah. And it's not even, see, that's the thing, right? Is I have people much like you that running is too hard on their joints.
Yeah.
So literally it's just the idea of the time domain and the heart rate. So for me, if you can't run, cool. I'll put you on an assault bike. I'll put you on a Versa climber. I'll put you on a bike erg. I'll put you on a rower. If you can give me that heart rate for this length of time, we're golden. It doesn't have to be running. But at the end of the day, running is the lowest hanging fruit, for most, go for a run. So I don't disagree with what you're saying. Yeah. What I'm saying is that not everybody maybe knows their body and their infrastructure as well as you did, and don't have the ability to maintain, because clearly the time that you spent training, you found a way to regulate and stimulate aerobic capacity throughout. Not everybody has that capability.
Yeah, I think it's important.
If they did, every fighter would have a great gas tank.
Yeah, but the problem is, even if you run, like, you need those spikes, right? You need to be able to train, and you do it anyways. 100%. Like, regardless of what you're running, you're training those spikes. You're training your anaerobic system all the time on those hard round pads and all those things. So I just think you have to understand that the game is about energy systems, and the way you train it and how you train it is specific and that kind of thing. But I just think it's funny that people are just so like, oh my God, you don't run, and they just think it's crazy. But like, here is the reasoning why, and here's the reason why it works for you. I think it was more of a old school mindset when it came to boxing, because if I was going to train a boxer that had to fight 12 rounds, I'd be, you're getting in your run, you're getting your road work in. You have to be able to, it's the aerobic capacity is more important in boxing with the longer round, more than a 3-round kickboxing fight where I want those spikes, So I mean, the balance and there's more movement for a longer period of time. You got a 15-round fight. Your legs have to be conditioned to move and bounce, and totally agreed. But from a physiological standpoint, for me, it's more about heart rate and time domain than anything else. And again, like I said, I wish all my fighters were like you. I wish that I didn't have to force. But I force strength training. I like my fighters to do CrossFit. And at the end of the day, again, much like running, I find CrossFit to be kind of that lowest hanging fruit, where I'm going to get the most bang for the buck. It's constantly varied. We're going to work on different movements. It's not boring, and time domains are different, and we can kind of stimulate all the energy systems, keeping it interesting. Get those classic lifts like the clean, which are so important for a combat triple extension.
Regularly, right? So that's why I use CrossFit. A lot of people go, CrossFit's this, CrossFit's that. Listen, CrossFit is Olympic weightlifting, gymnastics, and track and field. Really, you got a problem with those 3 things, right?
Yeah.
You want to be a dork, and you want to lift weight that you shouldn't lift, and you want to do stupid shit and look like an idiot and drop a weight on your head. Sure, you can make a CrossFit fail video anywhere you go, but the baseline of the ideology behind CrossFit is great for combat sports, as long as you keep it within reason. You don't have to go to the CrossFit Games to be a fighter. You don't have to be an Olympic marathon runner to be a fighter. But we can use these training modalities to stimulate the energy systems to get the desired response.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just different ways to get to the same result.
A lot of different ways to do it. I use CrossFit. You use something else. As long as we're stimulating the energy system that's required. And the reality is that most coaches don't even understand what the 3 energy systems are.
Yeah. And I mean, where I think we kind of separate ourselves, because I think it's important. I don't know how you can be a coach without understanding energy systems. To me, I think you have to, if you don't know, it's important that you get the right people to help out. And I think that's where for example, you in your coaching clinic, I mean, you bring in all these different coaches. Some coaches don't even have enough confidence in themselves to be able to bring in another coach, because they're all, oh my God, now I can't. But you're just so open, you're trusting and confident in your teaching, and because you know what knowledge you have.
Yeah, and again, 100%. I build cross-training relationships. My people go to Alpha Male. My people go to El Nino. Wednesday I teach at Alpha Male. Monday I teach at El Nino. And You know, I have
Beautiful.
people coming over. I'll have Gil here today with his team, working with my team. So absolutely, you know, I try to be open-minded. I'm always a student. And if there's a better way to do something, you know, I'm willing to do it, you know, and I try to stay open-minded with it. So, you know, I know you're doing the same. And, you know, like I said, I'm still excited for your coaching career, man. I love to see you, you know, working with UFC athletes now. And, you know, I think that you're going to, you know, do tremendous things as a coach,
Well,
as big, if not bigger than as a fighter.
Well, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me, and I'm telling you, I use that as confidence to keep going. So I appreciate it, Kieran. Thanks for coming, talking to me. I got we able to rant a little bit, got you talking.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the knowledge, and hopefully we can do it again in the future.